What's happening, everyone, and welcome back to Internet Dads. Today, it's a family affair. We have a very special episode in store for you. How are you feeling about it?
We're working our way through the family. Yes, we've got my brother Seb coming on, who is a dad of two, just like us. He's the first of us to have kids. He's got one of the first in the kind
First
of
in
little
space.
YouTube scene.
First in the space. I remember it.
Yeah,
I remember him announcing that he was having a baby,
yeah.
and I was shocked.
Really?
I was shocked because, it was the first. It wasn't shocking because he was having a baby. It was shocking because I don't think any YouTuber or anyone within the space had a baby. So it's going to be great to get his opinions on all this because he was the pioneer.
He was in many ways as well. You know, Seb is someone, if you're not familiar, he's my brother, my older brother. So we have three brothers. He's the older of the three. He works with me on a lot of the stuff I do, which is the sort of football side and the #United side. But he also is a creator in his own right. The channel called Seb on Golf. He's a very good golfer. He's more or less a scratch golfer. He's won some amateur competitions. He's won the world's biggest amateur golf competition twice, which is called the Trilby Tour, which is broadcast on Sky. He's part of the Big Wedge Golf Channel, which has got a lot of the sidemen and friends of the show that are involved in it, and Seb's part of that as well. He's kind of like the expert golfer to their new golfer experience, and he also runs a lot of the business side. He's a very good businessman, and I'm talking him up here. I prefer to do that when he's not here. But he's multi-talented man who's been around the space for over a decade now, but crucially has two children, and we want to find out about his approach, don't we?
Let's do it.
Let's go. Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of Internet Dads. We have a special guest. He is one of the best Carmichael-Browns I know, certainly top 5.
He's probably the best. I'd say he's the best one I know.
Oh, well, we always say Saunders is the best.
Yeah.
Oh, no, absolutely.
He's the best, really.
Yeah, he's the
That's just
second best, Carmichael-Brown.
That's just the brothers. There's all sorts of other Carmichael-Browns, including your children.
It's a growing clan.
You are a dad. I am a dad. You have 2 kids. I have 2 kids. You have 2 kids.
Six.
6 kids between us.
6 kids between the three of us.
Pretty mad, isn't it? Because we've obviously known each other. I've known you quite a while, actually. Most of my life.
Yeah.
We've known Rory for a while as well. And it's like we all knew each other as people that didn't have children. And here we are, quite active in the dad scene. That's why we got you on. And we want to talk about it, find out the different experience we've had. Actually, we've got a nice selection here because you've got boy, girl, boy, boy, girl, girl.
We've got covered.
All
different.
bases. Exactly. All bases, yeah.
Every possible outcome. But
you were first, weren't you? You were first out of all of us.
My eldest, Nelly, will turn 8 this year, next month.
Wow.
Mad.
Yeah, it's crazy, actually. And she is, I can see the signs of her coming in. So I've said to a lot of people, including I remember saying it to you, Spen, that I genuinely believe one of the, if not the peak life experience is having a child between 4 and 7.
Agreed.
That is the age where they can do pretty much everything. You can go there, have conversation with them. They laugh at all your jokes still.
Yeah.
You're still really, really cool. And you just got this best mate who idolizes you. And then I've just started to see, devastatingly,
The end.
I'll drop her off at the school and she wants to just be gone away from me as soon
Yeah.
as possible. At home, she's still lovely and cuddly, but she's no dad, or she's off already.
Yeah.
It's when they start calling you dad, not daddy.
Not daddy. I know
Beginning
that's
at the end.
huge. You know,
my book has been calling me dad for a couple of years,
Oh, really?
and I didn't even notice it until the other day. He went dad, and someone went to me, "Dad, he calls you dad," and I was like, "Is that not normal?"
Yeah,
I've been daddy, but it started to
still
change.
daddy,
I also had a what feels like a seminal moment. Clementine specifically asked me, because what I would do when I drop her at the gates, I'm quite big on it, and I would cuddle her up, and
Yeah.
she really rationally, very intelligently, just sort of pulled me aside, had a gentle conversation, but a nudge in the direction of, if you have to do that, can it happen in the car?
Wow.
Yeah, and it felt
Gutting, innit?
It felt
That's horrible, isn't it?
it was heartbreaking.
And that's girls as well. Obviously, we had the experience of being boys growing up in school environments. You've got a young boy that's going to get to that age at some point. My oldest is nearly 4.5 now. Is it fair to say they'd probably be a bit more embarrassed at that sort of thing than a girl would at that age?
You think so?
Possibly.
That'd be, I think, the expectation. But
so even that sort of pull away you're slightly experiencing from Nelly now, if it was a boy, it could even be worse in a way, maybe sort of,
all I can say is I can see why people go third, because they see, and why sometimes the gap between 2 and 3 is bigger. Is we were done on 1, and then I was really unsure on 2. And now if anything, if there was any lobbying, which there isn't really, it's me wanting the third, because I can see like what's happening to Nelly. She's coming out of that period. I just want another one entering it.
Yeah.
It's like you've always got a new one coming through.
But then you've then got that first few years. I sent you both a video which Alex sent to me, which I thought was hilarious, which is that guy talking about like the difference between parents who have two kids and the parents who have 3 kids. And basically the summary of it is like you have one kid and after you adjust it, you can kind of handle it because, you know, it's one child, one of you can still go and do stuff. You have 2 and you're like suddenly, oh my God, there's no way I can give them both the same attention. The second child is almost being forgotten. But there's like some upwards curve when you go to 3, which is basically you stop trying to have a life and you just let
you just give up.
Have fun.
You just give up. Is Nelly Penelope?
Yeah, Penelope.
Like we very, very nearly had the same
and
name.
we nearly did Clementine as well.
You're joking.
Clementine, sorry.
You're joking.
Pandora also. They're all kind of like
so close. It was down to the final 2.
Penelope. It was a toss of a coin for us. First time round.
What is that? We're literally a toss of a coin because I, being a Sebastian, I always I hated my name growing up. Hated it. I was embarrassed of my name.
Great name.
And I would always be Seb. No, I'm Seb. And then I'd be Seba through football. And then people would call me Seb. But I would then, when I got into business, even before social media business, I loved that I could be a chameleon. So if hi, Sebastian Carmichael-Brown here.
Yeah.
Or like, Sebby boy, how you doing?
Yeah.
I could be almost anything. I had the option and I had those choices. Nelly's very much a Nelly, but I know later in life, if she wants to become a Penelope or a Pen or a Penny, she's got
It's a gift that keeps giving.
Options, yeah, it's good. I mean, I know that you always had a bit of a penchant for like classics and mythology growing up.
Very interesting.
And these names are all kind of in that era, aren't you? You've got Pandora, Pandora's Box, you've got Penelope, they're all kind of that classic
Greek mythology.
mythological
I've just
names.
been reading with Nelly, the kids' version of the Iliad and the Odyssey, and I told her about how Queen Penelope, Odysseus, his wife, and like the end of the Trojan War, she now loves that story. And she's getting into that because that was, again, the sauce up for me because they both offered exactly the same. Like you could have a really easy off the tongue name and then a more sophisticated name. It was down to the fact that I loved Greek mythology.
That what it was. That was a differentiator. Like, No, they're from the same family, aren't they? I can see why.
Yeah. I kind of feel like you two should have been brothers, and you two have so much in common. Like we talk, when me and Rory talk, and if we've ever sort of dived into the politics chat, and which we try not to on this pod, but like you two have definitely got a lot of.
I basically disagree with everything that Spencer ever said.
And you two, I think, actually would agree on a lot as well. So it's nice. I'll just let you guys get a room. But no, so yeah, like we saw each other a few days ago. Football, pretty cool. We got to play at the Emirates. For not to brag, but it was our 3rd time. We played there a few
time at the Emirates.
Yeah, it's big.
The other 2 times were with hashtag. This was a very nicely put together by KSI and some of the boys. Freezy actually invited us to play like a Prime Day there. And I want to talk about it because it is linked to the dad thing, because Seb and I had very different experiences that day. They put us on different teams, which I thought was controversial. And we don't need to talk about the scoreline.
We should.
Or do we? Or do we?
People get too bogged down in these scorelines these days. But long story short, Seb's team absolutely walloped us.
So you were invited by... What's the exact goings on here? So KSI has the day because of his prime relationship.
Yeah, I got a quite late invite, to be honest.
Played for Calfreezy had a team and you got drafted to that.
Essentially, yeah. Freezy put himself in goal. It was very all the players were in the middle of the pitch.
So Freezy 11 versus a KSI 11.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Freezy and KSI on the same team.
Oh yeah, it's true. The other team was
Reeve was manager.
Reeve was manager. Yeah,
player manager.
It was
he wasn't player manager. He was just injured.
It was kind of just like there was a lot of lads who worked sort of in the back what's the word, back office of Prime and different companies. But it was very much like, you know, everyone was playing up front. It was just a bit of a mad game.
Okay.
But
well,
he was taking pretty serious.
Well, I was until I pulled my hammy. This is the issue. It was only 2 half-an-hour games, a half as well. It wasn't even a full game. What I will say is, we've done a lot of these sort of random games in stadiums over the years. I have never walked into a ground, got changed, and then kicked off. It was literally,
is that what happened?
Didn't even a single warm-up. And that, for a 36-year-old, I mean, Seb, he deserves a lot of credit because he was probably one of the oldest people on the pitch, if not the oldest.
You're in trouble.
Didn't look a second off it. Scored a hat-trick, by the way, right?
Mate.
Glad he brought it out because I wasn't going to.
Second half, I find first half. Second half, I felt a little tweak in my hammy and I thought, right, I'm just not going to sprint the rest of the game because it feels like it's going to go.
You playing centre-half?
I was playing centre mid, and then this lad was running down the right wing and my ego got the better of me and I was like, I'm going to try and tackle him. Sprinted after him and my hammy just popped and I couldn't play anymore.
Has it actually gone? Did you have the Michael Owen at Ellen Road moment where you're
I've had
wobbling?
A full-on snap before. It wasn't as bad as that. That was like months out. This will be fine in a few weeks, I think, but I definitely couldn't play. But I want to talk about Seb's 3rd goal because
third goal, mate. There's a huge compliment
Can't
in that
remember
alone.
now. There was the
Yeah.
disallowed one as
You
well.
lose count with it.
There was a couple that should have been disallowed. To be honest. And I don't want to get bogged down in controversy, but it's one of the worst officiating. I think we can agree
it
on
was
this.
horrendous. It was
There was a
absolutely
linesman there
disgraceful.
who literally got every decision the wrong way.
Didn't know the rules.
Every single one was wrong. It was mad. But so Seb scored a couple of goals. Yeah, he did. He scored a shanked cross that he claimed as a shot.
That was the disallowed
It
one.
didn't count, yeah. And then one that did count shouldn't have counted because it was offside. Doesn't matter. The third one, right? I'm sitting on the sidelines nursing my hammy at this point, and I'm talking to the boys like raving out on the sidelines, and I'm almost commentating it because Seb and I, even though we might have some political differences, there's a lot of people that almost say we have a telepathic understanding at times. There's an amazing clip of when we were commentating a hashtag game and something really nonchalant happens, like some silly thing. And genuinely, if you listen to it, it sounds like it's one person's audio being laid on top of it. Again, it's two of us at the exact same time and go, ah, fantastic. And it's like word for word at the exact same beat, like twins almost. And people do say that we sound alike. I don't know if you find that.
No, 100%. Yeah, you can see.
So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I know Seb pretty well. I understand how he's geared. Seb's running down the right wing, right? He's already got 2 goals at Emirates. He's also done some amazing things in his football time. You know, scored at Wembley in front of 30,000 people, whatever. Like, you know, obviously he's done some amazing golf stuff as well. I'm thinking, Seb's a father now. He's a changed man. He understands the joy that you can bring. I've talked about many times when we played at Wembley and we won a penalty. I literally gave it to Seb straight away. Not out of charity. I genuinely thought he had the best chance of scoring. But also in my head in that moment, I said, what an amazing thing that I can actually choose for my brother to, and I knew he would score.
He's the right man
to
for the job
score
as well.
a penalty at Wembley.
Yeah.
Like, I can be the person that for the rest of my life made that decision.
Yeah.
Way better than me choosing to take it. Even if I scored, I would know that I didn't give that to someone else. So I was like, and it was such a good moment. We did a little celebration. So, and Seb's talked about, and we've mentioned this pod before, the joy he got from seeing Nelly like score goals and get play with the match and stuff. And I was like, he understands this stuff now. So he's running down the right wing, right? And I'm commentating at the side.
Yeah.
I go.
The
Let me tell you.
implication is that you didn't used to understand this stuff.
No, definitely didn't. I mean, but you think about almost our football journeys as well. Seb's an attacking player, goal scorer, you know, crosser. He's that guy. He's been brought up to be that guy. Very good at that. I have been brought up mainly through necessity rather than desire to be a defender and stop goals and then help other people score. So we have different outlooks, understandably. Seb's running down the right and I'm going to the boys on the sideline. Let me tell you something, guys. 10 years ago, because it's all happening in slow-mo because it wasn't, you know, a fast-paced game.
You're slow now.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, Seb 100. So crucially, he's running down. There's literally no defenders. He's running down the right, and he has Danny Aarons and Deji literally busting a gut in the middle of the box to get there for an easy, you know, pass across, score a goal, guaranteed goal. JJ's in goal, right? And it's one of them. Danny had been playing at the back and actually been doing a good job for your team. And he sprinted the whole pitch. He had his mum and his dad there. He had Tennessee there, his daughter there. They're all sitting there like this going, oh, Danny,
This is the
Danny,
moment. This
Danny.
is it.
And I go, 10 years ago, Seb doesn't even look at those boys. And he just blasts it in the net, gets his hat-trick, he's done with it. There is no way Seb does not pass this ball now. I know my brother. He's going to pass it and give these boys that moment of scoring at the Emirates. And what happens? Seb just kicks it in the back of the net.
But hang on, I've got to
So
explain.
Danny Aarons has run the length of the pitch in front of his family, his doting wife, his loving, adoring child.
Yeah,
for nothing.
he's absolutely right. But before that, so I'd gone through on goal on the left-hand side as well, and I had a chance to complete the hat-trick at Emirates. I think I'd remember forever. And Theo's in the middle, and Theo's been a great friend of mine for the best part of a decade. I actually worked with him off camera as well on his branded stuff. And even though he scored everywhere, Theo, he's still the Emirates. And I'm like, I'm going to square this to Theo. I did, and he missed.
Right.
So I give up my hat-trick for Theo to miss his absolute sitter.
Yeah.
I was like, unbelievable. So I'm running through on goal, as Spencer just said, and I can swear on my children's life, I had every intention of doing nothing other than swearing it, right? To the point where JJ's in goal at this point, he's running at me. I made it probably so telegraphed I was going to square it to Danny and Deji. The only thing in my mind was, who do I pass to? Because, and bear in mind, this is like a couple of seconds, right? I'm thinking, who do I pass to? Because one, I couldn't remember if Danny had scored or not. Deji, like, maybe wasn't as likely to score unfairly. Maybe there's that. So I remember thinking a split decision. Which one do I pass to? JJ's then at me, and JJ running at me. The goal's here, right?
Yeah.
JJ has gone that way.
So he's cutting off
to
the
block
pass.
the pass to his brother.
He
knows
read you as well.
what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I actually thinking I could mess this up because JJ could just stick a leg out. I've waited too long. I'm going to look like an idiot. Can't even get the pass to them. So at the last minute, I glance up and the goal is just completely empty. So I'm like, I'm just going to roll it in.
Just rolled it in. Got
And
your hat-trick.
genuinely, I swear on my kid's life, I had no intention of shooting there. I was like, right, I'm waiting for the right moment. And then all of a sudden, by the time I delayed so long, I actually couldn't pass.
What did Danny Aarons do?
He was gutted, mate.
He was
And I
gutted,
want to say,
didn't he?
with the right camera there, Danny, I'm genuinely sorry, mate. I promise you, I was planning on passing to either you or Deji.
Don't believe it.
I swear it's true. And do you know what? This is even more of an honest take. Like, it was an amazing day and like such a cool experience. And yeah, like my kids asked me how do they get on a football? How'd you score? I was like, oh yeah, I scored a hat trick. That's really cool, right? But I genuinely laid in bed that night and I felt a bit gutted that I didn't pass. Honestly,
Well, I mean, as
hand on
well
my
you
side.
should.
I did.
Imagine how Danny Aarons
And
felt when he went
if
to
I
bed that
could
night.
go back, I would happily give my hat trick away. And we're making it sound so
easy to say
It's
that
a bloody
now.
charity
Yeah,
day.
it's
No, but
easy
look,
to say
that's
that
the honest.
now.
You can either believe me or not. That's the honest truth. Take it or leave
Was
it.
it amazing? Was it amazing being there? Because I don't necessarily hold the Emirates. I'm a Chelsea fan. I don't necessarily hold the Emirates in the highest regard. But you know the way that it's seen, certainly in London, certainly in this country. You know that the carpet and all that. Was it spectacular when you were on there?
It's amazing.
Yeah, is it? Yeah.
I think if you're being honest, and this is like not going to be a relatable take for people watching at all, but these things you do get. It is incredible. There's no doubt. I will never say no. I've said this all my life. I will never say no to playing football at a stadium. As long as I'm fit and able, I'll always do it because it's such a privilege. The pitch is incredible. Like, it's just an honour. But it's also so telling how used to it our whole community has got.
Yeah.
Like, what we actually did that day is essentially the exact same thing we did in the first Wembley Cup. Like, no crowd, massive stadium, and some of the biggest YouTubers in the UK who now are way bigger than they were 10 years ago, right? When we did it that time, we got 20 million views on YouTube, and it was like the biggest thing most of us had ever been involved in. This time, no one even filmed the game, I don't think. I mean, there's a couple guys with
Some people
cameras.
aren't even like some people obviously filming a few bits on their phone, but most people I haven't done a single post about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't believe that
Tuesday night,
Arsenal.
Monday night, whatever
I
it
think Arsenal massively dropped the ball there, if I'm honest, because generally I'd say Arsenal are pretty on it and social stuff. They're pretty good at like speaking to that like age group and things. They had JJ, who's a massive Arsenal fan who'd never played there before. And they didn't even have someone down there for social clipping it up.
No.
Like, that's millions of views. Millions of views.
Error.
We should talk
But
about dad stuff, shouldn't we? We're getting into football too.
Well, yeah, we should do. Yeah. But I think it was obviously a great experience, but it does link to that stuff you talked about, like
Perspective change.
yeah. And we've mentioned the thing about Nelly seems like she's going to be a decent little footballer if she wants to be, because she said she's doing well at the school stuff, and that pride that fills you with. I don't know if you want me to say this, and if you don't, we'll cut it out of the edit. But it goes back to a great quote you made once. You know what I'm going to say?
I don't, but
We had
a few howlers in my time.
we had a hashtag dinner like with staff and stuff quite a few years ago. Seb, so this would have been like 2019. So Nelly would have been like 2 maybe, and obviously just the one child. And we're sitting there and we're talking to our manager Devs, who's got a boy and a girl. And basically Seb talks about how, and he said this to me prior, that he felt having a girl changed him a little bit. And honestly, some of the stuff you said to me is one of the reasons I was quite keen to have a girl. And we grew up in I more than Seb spent a lot of my youth age in boys' schools, went around a lot of girls, no sisters, not a lot of exposure to that. Quite liked the idea of it, maybe changing me a little bit, softening me up a little bit. And Seb, for all the right intentions, meant to say that in that way. But his actual comment at the dinner was something like, you said before you had Nelly, you didn't see the appeal in having a daughter. You did say something like that.
I mean, I don't think I used those
I think
words.
you meant the value in having a daughter.
But before you could destroy my public reputation here, what I think I should probably do is explain that what I never really understood half of the population, right? Like I have just grown up with obviously 2 younger brothers, playing football, very, very, very male-dominated like environments, even to the point where all my schools were same-sex classes. So I've never been to school with girls. Like, they were at the school, but in different classes. And 100%, what I will say, very, very honestly, and Nelly one day will see this, she might have an opinion about it maybe, is that I was desperate for a boy, first child, desperate as anyone you'll ever meet. To the point where, like, when we went for our scan and found out, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't gutted when I saw it as a girl. Right. Gutted. Like, oh man, like, I thinking, am I going to have one kid? I was like, gutted. And I grew to love her. But, and this is the big but, Nelly. Stay with me, Nelly, here, right? When I went through that process and had Nelly, felt like I opened up a whole other side of my brain, a female perspective. Having empathy and thinking about female issues opened up a different side to me. I don't know whether it's being a parent or being a girl dad, but like I hadn't cried in like, I don't know, 20 years or something, right? However many years it is, just never really that emotional person, like way more logical and just like getting stuff done. And I'll cry all sorts of films now. Like when we lost Tiger a few years ago, my dog, never cried like it. Like literally inconsolable for 2 whole days. Like completely, and I would never have been that way before children. But going back to that point about gender, when we then fell pregnant a second time, I'd had such a life-changing experience being a father of a girl that if someone had said to me, if you can pick your second child's sex, I would have picked another girl.
Yeah, that's amazing.
To the point where I never wanted a girl. So then I just only have girls' things. That's fine. But then also on the converse thing for you now, Rupert, watching this, and my boy, when he was born, and this sounds silly, when I saw his balls, I was like this feeling came up.
Because you didn't know.
We didn't know. We never.
didn't know.
The second time we didn't
Yeah.
find out. It was
Yeah.
during COVID, and my wife Gina, who is unbelievable at both births, when he was brought out and shown to me, and I saw that ball sack. Oh my God, the most like all of a sudden I remembered all the reasons I was desperate for a boy, and I was like,
Best ball sack
I
you've ever
was
seen.
like, what a healthy set you've got.
Certainly
there.
top 10.
How did your wife react? You know, initially when you found out and you was, as you just sort of pointed out, gutted. Did you react at the time?
So I think I hit it quite well.
Right.
I remember being in the room and she was obviously overjoyed and hugging each other, and I just had a feeling that I was trying to mute, or I was trying to mask that I was gutted. I remember just feeling embarrassed that I felt that way.
Yeah.
But that's how I felt.
I think that it's one of the reasons I really enjoy doing this pod is like, and I think you should be happy to have that story told, is because it's about the after
Evolution.
So it's
Exactly,
fine to admit these things. And I
was wrong.
I don't think people do it enough in society. Sort of go, I used to feel this way, and almost keep these little, almost guilty thoughts in their brain. But everyone has them, and it's fine to own it because you're talking about the evolution of you, which I think is so beautiful. And you talked about the finding out the gender. You had quite a key role in both ours actually when we found out the gender. So the first time when we had our oldest, and it was during COVID as well, we wanted to do a gender reveal. It was just opening up that we could have people at our house again. You know, it had to come in the garden. They weren't allowed in the house. So we were like, oh, this is a nice opportunity to give us some. We weren't necessarily bothered about doing a gender reveal, but it was more like, it's a chance to get everyone together. We've not seen them. So we've got everyone in the garden. And obviously we had to get you to help and also someone else to work with us to find out the gender because we couldn't find out before. And then we did it for the second. We did it at your house, didn't we, at Christmas? And we did a nice little reveal of the family. But yeah, we never done the whole not finding out until the moment thing.
I was always of the opinion, like, why would you not want to know to prepare as much as possible? But then for the second time around, I completely understood like the magic of why, like, it's them people that, you know, have 3 or 4 kids, like, you got to start finding out. Like,
My mate at the moment, my mate is about to have his 3rd child, and he's got 2 boys, and he has insisted that they don't find out because his wife is so desperate for a girl. He said to her, he's like, I'm not having you like furious through this whole pregnancy, so we're not going to find out, because if you find out it's a boy for the 3rd time, having basically only tried for a 3rd because they want a girl, that they won't find out. But apart from that, that I think is fairly sound reasoning.
I do agree. The only converse to that is that she finds out
You can mentally prepare.
Well, she can mentally prepare for it, but then at the same point, once the baby's there, all of a sudden you just dial into the
you love-
wonderfulness
yeah.
of it, aren't you?
Yeah, it's
But it's one of them things where, like, as a macro, like, parenting point, is that obviously it's not for everyone, like, but most people watching this are probably going to be wanting to have kids or have kids, you'd think, right? Is that, like, anyone who is about to have a child or is thinking about having one, like, I mean, we've done some crazy stuff in our time, bro. Like, we've got, as football sports fans, the things we've got to do in this industry.
And in your golf stuff
It's,
as well.
it's unbelievable. The things we've got to do, like wildest dream, pinch yourself, like unbelievable. But the top 5 moments of my entire life are all with my kids.
Yeah.
No, not even close.
And isn't
Like,
that
feeling is just unmeasurable.
That's such an interesting piece of like context as well for people watching this, is like, and not to be like patronizing in any way, but people that are watching this that maybe haven't had the opportunity of living the things that we have lived, because they're so lucky that we've got to do them, right? They are still going to potentially be able to do the things that are in your top 5.
Yeah.
And I think that's very
yeah,
important.
exactly.
That context.
The best moments,
Exactly.
yeah.
They're free. You know,
Yeah.
the kids are definitely not free.
No, no.
That's a whole other topic. But that is exactly it. Is that, like, when, you know, some of the things that we have been lucky enough to do, if you think about how you could say that, you know, how many more of them could there possibly be? They've done all these things.
Yeah.
But to think, like, the top 10 moments of our life are probably all still yet to come, because there'll be things that we see our kids achieve.
Yeah.
And, like, that's one of the most things I've enjoyed about being a dad, but also in being one of the older people in this space and working with lots of other creators and different things. And more so in golf, to be fair, with the Big Wedge boys, is that I've done so many things in golf, But when I'm going with them to a place for the first time and seeing them experience it, just like we take your kids somewhere, you relive the joy of like
You see it through
the
their
first
eyes,
time
don't
you take them. So like when I took when I took like Rue to golf or Nelly to a football match, and she like, this is like, and you're like, yeah, and you get that feeling, something you've done all the time. You get a new joy for it.
Yeah. How did you reconcile not the regret? I don't know what the correct word is here, but how did you reconcile the issue that you had when you found out that you were having a girl for your firstborn, and you openly said there that you were not overjoyed? I think this is interesting for people to hear, because this is an experience that a lot of people will have, and very few people will be as frank as you've spoken here. I think that this could be very beneficial for some people, because I think it's quite a common. I think it's good both
For a
ways.
man,
Both ways,
men.
of course, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Alex has talked to, she was a bit disappointed when we did the reveal at your house. A very small period of disappointment.
No, you could tell.
You could see in her face. If you slow mo the video, you actually can. She sort of goes like that.
Did you think your way through it? Did it naturally happen? What changed?
I think having time to get used to the idea of it, and I think I immediately thought of, we're having another one then. Will we go again?
Right, okay.
We'll go again. But then ultimately, the most interesting thing I take away from it is that, and this is something really interesting about people getting older like we are, and maybe having kids, right? And it's like when you're in your 20s, when I look back to me finishing uni, coming through that, doing some of the stuff I've done after university, building some businesses, I genuinely felt, I know it all. Oh, I know everything. What an idiot. What a moron. Like the things that I know now compared to then. But now I like to think I'm hopefully knowledgeable enough to know I know nothing. I know nothing.
That awareness is educating.
But the biggest thing is I now know that no one knows anything. And everyone's winging it. Everyone's a complete chance. Everyone used to put people on a pedestal. It was almost like there's another level of species. These people can do this. They can't. No nonsense. Anyone can do anything. Some people are given incredibly more fortunate and privilege that allows it easier. But really, the gift is the mindset to think that anything's possible. But going back to that, when I thought I just knew everything, and I think now the biggest aha moment is becoming like how much I went through my entire like 25 years on this planet, and most 30 years on this planet, just being completely ignorant to the opposite sex. It was always like, that's us and them, and they care about things that aren't important to me, and I care about things that maybe not important to them. It's so wrong. Just to realize how wrong I was. Like, how could I have been? Someone had said to me, one day you'll grow up and you'll want to be dad of girls. It's like, you don't know me, mate. Trust me, I know what I want. Idiot. That guy was an idiot. He was completely wrong. So it's just an acknowledgement of how wrong you can be, and having that mindset that anything you think is an absolute guarantee now, you could change your mind on.
And did you get a pang? Did something change maybe when you saw her, or by the time she came along, were you then?
I think I was then fully excited about it by the time she came on, and then it's probably, being really honest, it's like getting to know her in the more recent years of like just compounded this thought process more and more, like every day. There's one story I'll tell now. This is unrelated, but it's made me think of it. And it's, you have these conversations. I do some public speaking and talk about things. And actually just came from a conference where I spoke on a panel, and I talked to somebody privately about this. And I think it's a very, very interesting moment to talk about, right? So the most poignant thing I think of as a parent is one day I found myself reading to Nelly, and we're all busy and we all think that everything's the most important thing in the world, right? And I'm reading this story to my daughter, and I catch myself skipping a line. And the reason I'm skipping a line is I wanted it to be over, to get back to my laptop and send an email, right? And I'm like, come on, get it. And she caught me. She's like, Daddy, you missed that line. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, annoyed. I've got to read it again. Annoyed at my she was 6 at the time, my 6-year-old daughter for catching me out, because I wanted to get back to this moment. And I'd done it many times before. And then that particular time it landed with me. And I had that thought, which is quite a thought out, formed pattern of thinking that happened to me in a billionth of a second. It was like, one day, Seb, whatever success you ever have in this life, you'll be an old man, and your daughter will be an older lady, and she won't give anywhere near the same shits about you as she does now. And you'll have hopefully some success and some maybe wealth or whatever, and you will give every single penny to get to live for half an hour in the bed of your daughter, her snuggled up. I get goosebumps thinking about it. Her snuggled up to you, hanging on your every word, just wants to be next to you, reading that bedtime story. And right now, you're rushing it.
Yeah, you've skipped
like,
that.
You absolute moron. What is success? What is wealth or anything if you can't enjoy those moments? And it's like that constant voice, and then the other voice on my shoulder is like, nah, mate, what a pussy. Get back to work. Do your work. You can read stories whenever. And this voice going, no, what are you doing? I think it's as you get older, you start to wrestle with those two voices. I know I certainly do. And I want to listen to this one, but I'm still, the world has hardwired me to listen more to this one, and I hate it, but it's the reality of what it is.
It's a huge moment because do you know what as well? I've had my own experience of this very recently, and what I suddenly realised, particularly, and this is one of the benefits I think to having a 6-year-old and a baby, is that I'm learning about what happens at 6, and I've kind of got another opportunity.
Yeah.
Whereas if they're closer together,
Plan A, plan B.
kind of do it. Yeah,
It's
I've
run
kind of
that
got, but do you know what happened fairly recently? What I used to do whenever I get in from work, I often get in quite late. I usually get in at 11. If I'm doing any talk sport, it'd be 11 o'clock I get in. And what I used to have to do, and I quite enjoyed it, but I also used to find it a little bit of a stress. We were toilet training. So what I would do, I would have to take Clementine in her sleep while she was asleep, put her on the toilet effectively while she's asleep.
Dream wee.
Do a dream wee. And do you know what I didn't realise? And this is applicable to basically everything that we have as parents and everything that we maybe find a chore, everything that we love. What you don't realise is it ends and you don't know it's going to end until it's over. So suddenly, I didn't do it once because I was away playing poker, probably with you. Victoria couldn't do it. She had a cesarean. She can't lift. Victoria almost resigned herself to the fact that there was going to be a wet bed, and there wasn't. It was like this eureka moment. She doesn't need a dream wee anymore.
Urethra
and
moment.
I suddenly went, urethra moment, absolutely, very good. And I suddenly went, I'm not ready to give that up.
Yeah, man.
You don't know it's over. You don't know it's
Don't
the last
know the
time.
last time you carry them to bed.
So the last time I did that, I will literally never do that again for Clementine. Don't leave the bed anymore. If I'd known that, I would have, I don't know, it wasn't something to massively appreciate, but it was part of our routine.
Yeah.
I used to pick her up in her sleep and she was so cute. She'd be asleep on my shoulder, you know? And then it's done. And you're like, oh.
Petrifying.
Yeah, because it's over and you'll never do that again.
It shows you, I think, like, first of all, the fact that we're even having this conversation, I think it shows you how far the fatherhood role has come in along the years as well, that we're even having it, because it's really hard to be aware of that in the moment. But you're completely right. Take it back a few years. I mean, all the stats now are saying that like the average dad is spending like 40% more time with their kids than they used to do. Like we definitely become more aware of this other aspects of the fatherhood role. And I think that everything you guys are saying is right, and me and Alex talk about it all the time. It's still so incredibly hard when you're in that moment.
Of course it is, man.
Or whatever it is, a stressful thing or an argument or something. Like me and Al have got this thing we do where, we talked about, we went to Costa Rica for 6 weeks, and they've got this saying in Costa Rica which is pura vida, which means pure life. Like, and their whole national like identity is about having this pure life, sunshine and just enjoying the moment. So me and Al, when one of us is being a bit of a prick or having an argument or being annoying, we'll go pura vida, and it's like, but it's not, because it's the most annoying thing when someone does it to you, because you're like, I can't undo the rage, like I can't. The other person is trying to get you back. But like, it's something similar in that, I think, with the kids, where you're like, those moments, if you could just give yourself the gift of the context to know, yes, you would treat them differently. And sometimes you get that gift of stopping yourself and actually fixing it in the moment. A lot of the time it comes after. And one story we always talk about Seb is like, anyone that knows Seb and has worked with Seb in the industry knows he's incredibly hardworking, diligent, like, very, very good at what he does, and just someone that's been in my corner for a long time.
There's a but. There's a big but.
Someone has been he's worked with me now like for a decade, and it's like been an exponentially like great thing for my life, like no doubt about it. Hopefully it's a mutual thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that comes at a cost, I would say, for Seb. Like, Seb's sort of like, and we all have this. We've talked loads on this podcast about my own neuroses and how much I overthink things. I think Seb is maybe more of a different situation where you're like almost tunnel vision sometimes, and you work so targeted, and you have, maybe less so now, missed out on some things, I think. And I remember we were in Moscow for the World Cup.
I know you're going to say,
and I always talk about this because I always use this weirdly. Whenever I'm trying to remember how old Nelly is, I always remember because I missed her first birthday when I was in Russia for the World Cup.
Right.
So I always go back and go, she was one in 2018, so she's 2017. So I always work out based on the World Cup. It was a huge moment for me. It was an amazing month. Seb came out for just a final, I think. My dad was with me. My mate was with me. So I've been in Russia for like 3 and a bit weeks by this point. I know it pretty much like the back of my hand. I've done lots of time in Moscow, St. Petersburg, all over the place. And obviously Seb's there. I think he had like one day, one night with us. So I was like, okay, let's get Seb.
Just for the final. So you've flown in for the final.
Oh, mate, there's a whole other story on that where I basically, like, it was with Coca-Cola, right? The partnership we had with them. And like, you had a ticket to every way to the final.
Every England
were there, right? And you do this big whole trophy thing. It was amazing. And I remember thinking, like, I'm going to go, but I've got a kid now. I can't go for a whole month. So I was like trying to time when I go. I was like, right, I don't want to go for the first round knockout and then miss the semis or what final. I was like, right, if I'm going to go, I'm going for the final.
And obviously England were looking.
Right? And I basically gambled when we got to the semi.
See what you've
I
done.
won't do the semi. I'll just come for the final. And then
And you
Yes,
missed.
I
we
went all the
went.
way there to watch England third place play off on a big screen in a fan park.
Yeah, and we watched France-Croatia, didn't we, the final? But,
yeah, of course, it was amazing.
But the day before, the day of, whenever, I'm thinking, right, let's give Seb the whirlwind tour because it's pretty incredible, like Russia. And it's not somewhere you know you're going to go again. Obviously, since then, there's been all the stuff with Ukraine. So, like, I don't know if I'll ever go to Russia again. Who knows? But it was an amazing experience that month. So we're walking through the Kremlin, right? And you've got like, all this, you've got Lenin's mausoleum, you've got this amazing stuff, and it is visually incredible. And Seb is literally head down on his phone doing emails. And it's one of them where it'd been going on a little bit on the tour, and it was a busy man, got stuff to do. But I sort of took that moment. I was like, Seb, look up at the Kremlin, just take it in, give me 2 minutes of your time just to sort of look around. Because if you don't do this now, it's not about the Kremlin, it's about if that's your, like, and we're all guilty of this, isn't a Seb problem. We all do this, right?
Everyone can relate.
But like, if you can't look at the Kremlin and the mausoleum, that you'll probably never see again, potentially in your life, when do you look up?
Yeah.
When do you look up from your phone?
But we all do, and the problem is as well, there is a balance. Here you've tipped the balance, of course.
Absolutely.
As Spencer's completely correct it. But on the other side of it, you had a child. You were being meticulous with your work.
Yeah, of course. I
Because
I
you're
look back
feeling
at
the
that
pressures.
period, and I think it probably was the period where I had the least perspective on it. Like, I look back, like, I've always been a smaller guy, right? But that period in my life was the heaviest I ever was. I was just so dialed in. We were doing so many different things. I just had the child. And I always think back to another example of thing I've tried to learn from, and I try to pass back to other young people I'm involved in this space, particularly, is I went on a trip to California with TaylorMade, and we had all this other stuff going on with hashtag and your stuff and some of the other people I was working with. And I was in California with TaylorMade, and it's an amazing experience. I brought out 4 of my followers to play the best courses in America, being given the great golf clubs with some like, amazing experience. And I was basically the whole time on my phone, and I was waking up at 4 a.m. to get on UK time to do all the work for 2 or 3 hours, then going to breakfast to see the people I'm actually there with, then to go and sneakily do a call outside, and then go and meant to be in this content on my own channels, and then for them, and then go back, take a few more calls. Nowhere near enjoyed the experience. Wasn't doing things I'd had to do at home properly because I'm half there, half here. Wasn't enjoying the I wasn't doing what I was meant to be doing there properly. It's just you're doing nothing well.
Yeah.
And it's because constantly when you're juggling so many things, you're like, and I even left that trip early to get back in time because I think that was when Nelly was being born. There was a chance to get back and blah, blah, blah. So it was like you just do nothing well. You just do everything to tick it over. And I think when you have kids, like if you just can try and find a way to just say like, no, that is the most important thing. They matter more than anything else and everything. But that, look, I can hear myself saying it, but I think about how I behave
Putting
even
it
still
into
now.
practice.
Yeah,
So hard, isn't it?
we all have our. It's not even a foible, I wouldn't suggest, because it's part of your success is the nature you have. It's just, it's important, I think, as we get older, just to know these things about us and know how we can rein it in. And like, what people don't, I think it's a big misnomer with Seb. Like, for example, one of the reasons that I don't enjoy golf the way Seb does is because of how long it takes.
Yeah.
And it is in normal life, it's something you enjoy leisurely, right? For anyone that's been on a golf course with Seb, and I'm sure there is exceptions when you're like doing Augusta, like you got to play all these things, but generally he's probably got 3 meetings in one course of golf going on his phone. He's emailing in between holes, like, you know, he's working on the golf course.
Well, you know what? Like that was that for a long, long time. I've got a new rule recently, is that I actually make sure my phone. I allow myself to look at my phone at 9 holes, and then I lock it away.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll treat myself and I'll do 6 holes. Right, so I go in a bit sooner. But generally, there's
Not treating yourself though, is it? It's
no, it's
punishing
the opposite.
yourself.
It's the direct. There is a direct correlation between how much I'll be on my phone and my score in golf. 100%. Yeah. And like you can't be mentally present.
And that is what it is as a sport, isn't it? You've got to be dialed in. You've got to be like,
if you're playing properly.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, you know, making content is a bit different. But yeah, no, like that was a real thing. And like I am going to talk to some of the people at my children's school that whether or not they would want me to do a talk to kids, right? Because I'm happy to say this, is like all of us earn our living and career through social media and you know the platforms and using our phones effectively. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate all of
We
it.
talk about it all the time.
Phone is
So
an
funny.
absolute prison.
This is such a recurring topic on this podcast, mate. This is,
but we can't escape them.
No, we can't escape it. And I am interested in, because what was the catalyst for this is like, so Nelly's got friends who've got older siblings. So I'm getting exposure to kids that are like 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? We've all seen that adolescent show and how horrible that is to watch, and the stark reality of what, you know, society is at these days. And to think that for example, I won't use names obviously, but there's an older brother of one of Nelly's friends who wanted to play Fortnite with his mates. And his parents said, "You're not going to play Fortnite. We think you're too young for that." I would agree with that decision.
Yeah.
I would like to make the same decision. Nothing against the game. It's more about online and communities. It's still like 10, 11 years old.
You're still shooting each other,
But,
aren't you?
but it's more about, But
And you're playing with strangers, aren't you?
well, there's an element to that as well. But in general, it's like, okay, let's say it's different. Let's say it's having a phone, or like when do they get their first phone? Whatever that decision is. But then if their peers are doing it, what happened to this one boy in this instance is that he was telling his friends he plays Fortnite to be involved in the conversation when he wasn't, making mistakes and becoming bullied because he pretended to play
Didn't really know
Fortnite.
the game.
He felt like he had to make like that. So therefore, the parents' decision had caused him more anguish, effectively. But how do you get that right? And if you almost have to have this collective, and we've seen recently some schools have done this policy where you have to lock your phone away. I'm desperate for that to become everywhere. Please.
I think it's happening.
So
can we
what's
do
your
it?
reservation? Your reservation is whether you are the right person to perhaps give your knowledge to children, because you could make mobile phone culture, social media aspirational.
My reservation is that I don't want to seem like, oh, who am I to talk to kids? I almost would like, if the kid, it's one of them ones where probably, because I'm involved in social media and whatever, and like kids will probably, rightly or wrongly, listen to us a little bit, listen to what we say because of our experience, because we've got credibility.
So for a kid, you're far more interesting to hear from.
Exactly. So
But I don't think they'll want to hear what you have to say. That's the truth of it. I think the parents will love the idea of you doing it. If someone said to you and you're a parent, there's a guy who's got a successful career in social media, he wants to come and talk to about some of the dangers of phone use and social media to the kids. As a parent, I'd be like, yes, get him in, and the school will probably love it as well. Whether the kids take it in or they just you listen to you, then they ask you at the end, oh, what's it like working with Simon?
Yeah.
You've had a good career in this industry. It's been kind to you, and you've been, you've worked very hard to make sure that's the case. When Penelope, in a decade's time, would you counsel Penelope to potentially follow in your footsteps?
Interesting topic, isn't it?
Where are we going to be in a decade?
I mean, I don't know where we get on that. Like, I mean, part of me thinks like, what an opportunity because of how good it's been to me. How I just only see it getting bigger and bigger. The opportunity for creators and and what a head start I could give her in that world through experiences, connections, like knowing how to start. And you think if you wanted to make your child now a social media superstar, if they wanted to do that, all of us is in our control to do that and basically set them up for a career. Then there is genuinely another voice. It's like, is that doing them a favor or is that,
it's like the child acting thing, isn't it? It's no different, really. I think you get some kids. I don't know if it's the same for social, but I think there's some kids who have this natural predilection to performing and acting. I mean, you went to the acting school, and you're just like, I need to put this kid on stage. Like, it belongs there, and that might be a theatrical stage, it might be a television screen, whatever. But I think there's also a lot of the other side, which is my kid needs to be a star, and it's that beauty pageant stuff in America,
and
all that,
and
that is horrible for the child, and they don't even want to necessarily be there. And I think the social thing is tough, like. Because we know people that are doing it, obviously. Like your kids are in some of your content, but you're not making content about.
No,
kids.
I think I have the same perspective to this I do towards sport. Like sport has given me everything, right? Like when I say not just the opportunities I have in football and golf, I mean the self-worth and confidence to actually have a mindset to go and try and do certain things, right? So like my son Rupert is like, I'm short, my wife's short, but my son Rupert is on the 0.05th percentile for height, right? So you and I can, I can relate to this, right? And I feel like
producer's laughing in the background.
Well,
as if she's 6 foot.
but like I feel very lucky, and if I look back, and rightly or wrongly, I believe that the fact that I was reasonably good at sport allowed me to fit in with the cool kids or whatever, and have confidence to be popular. This gave me a confidence to go on for everything else. And if I didn't have that, then I wonder what could have happened. So I think, right, well, I want to give my son that self-worth, but I genuinely, and look, to be honest, talk about mindset change pre and post kids. If you ask me pre-kids, are like, yeah, I'll be a nightmare. I'll be wanting them to do football and golf. I generally don't.
No.
I genuinely I take them to do the things that I like doing. If they like it, great. If they don't, they don't. And I genuinely feel that way. And I give them exposure to it. I take them to the golf course. They have fun. I try and leave before they're not having fun, so they don't want to go. We'll play football. If they don't want to do it, we don't do it. I'd love them to be into sport, but I'm genuinely not bothered. The hilarious thing recently, right? So Nelly, I think, has and you can see how kids run, right? She runs like an athlete.
Yeah,
she runs properly, right? So I know she'll swing a golf club for the first time. It looks natural, and you just think, right, but she's not necessarily that bothered about golf right now. She is not really that bothered about football, even though I think she's got a bit of a natural talent. She's just not really into it. She likes art, great. She can focus on that, whatever she wants to do. The other day, she comes back, and at the moment at school, they give them different sports to do every term, and there's one sport like of all the sports that I've never played, right? Never really landed with me. Oh yeah, I really like cricket.
Cricket. Yeah,
Right.
I knew it's
You won a trophy once.
I
I
mean-
for like most wickets in a game or
I mean,
something.
for like the B team or something.
That's not bad, mate. I never got one.
But like, I was just like, how has that happened? Like, it's not a traditional sport for girls to be enjoyed. Like, she's tried netball, she's tried football, she's tried all these other.
there's a great thing in this for you, you know, because when you
I know what you're going to say. Pim's o'clock.
exactly, it's a great.
Do you know
it's a
what?
great
So
thing for
funny you
you.
say that. Do you know what we spent last Friday night? Right. So normally football. Saturday morning, I go with my son to football. Nelly would have football on a Saturday if she wants to do it. After school camps, you know, whether it's gymnastics, piano, whatever it is, you drop them off, you're waiting outside, or you're just not really involved, right? Cricket is on the village green of the town we live in, right? Everyone's there, sitting out. They're taking deck chairs. There's the other dad
Subsidised
kicking a
bar.
football around. Like, he's so true. I got my first experience of it last Friday night. It's become, and it's going to be every Friday night now, especially in the summer. You go there at 6 o'clock, you'll be there till 9:30, right? Until it's dark. And we watch them play cricket. We then are playing football. We're playing catch. Everyone's gone home. It's like a massive game. I'm running around. The kids are trying to tackle me. I was like, cricket might be.
Yeah, the cricket
I
is a great thing for that.
Literally walking back from the high street when I go past the cricket pitch on the way back to my house, and I literally it shows you how I've evolved or changed, if you like, as a parent. Because I've always talked about how I like the condensed sports, and my brain needs to be like hyper focused. I want to be in squash and whatever. Cricket is a really long one, like golf. It never really interests me as a player too much. I'm walking down. It's exactly like you say. It's this lovely little scene. Everyone's having fun. You know, sun's out. All the families are there. My mindset is, I really hope my boy gets into cricket, either to play or even better, we just sit on that bench and spend hours in the sun watching and chatting.
It's a
like,
gift. It's a gift,
for
that
me,
kind of thing.
for my internal enjoyment, that is not something I would class as fun. But the idea of doing it with my boy, it's like, I'll spend the whole day doing that. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, I completely
We all
agree.
go together. Me, Gina, and I go with Rue. And I mean, we're watching Nelly play a bit of cricket, but really we're there with other parents who've got their siblings there. Everyone's just knocking about. But the thing is, cricket, like, it's even longer than golf. And like half of the cricket, you're just watching the other team bat.
But it's a wonderful day as well. You know, if you ever go to the cricket, like if you go to like the first day of the first test at Lords or whatever, you can all be like, you're trying to pop the champagne cork, get it on the.
Got to get some sun lotion on.
Got to get the sun lotion on. It's a great day. But yeah, there is something sort of quintessentially British about just being on a village green watching it.
I think the going back to the decision with the kids, I think it's a hard one because, you know, so me and my brothers, we've all done something similar in a way. We've all found a niche in the sport. Seb's done a crossover with football and golf, but let's look at golf for Seb, me for football, and our younger brother with motorsport and Formula E, which he does a lot of stuff with, and all stuff we're passionate about. It's amazing. We all grew up loving those sports, and we've all built careers around them. So it's really like incredible. I'd say probably with the exception of me, because I was as a teenager like trying to get into this industry, stand up and radio and all this stuff, like more than sport. When it comes to the sports we've developed careers in, we've developed them from a genuine passion for the sport. We weren't at 9, 10 thinking about content. Do you know what I mean? We were thinking about, I am a bit of an exception because I got into football late as well. But if you take Seb, like Seb was a genuine football person and then a golf person as well, and was good at those sports and enjoyed them and was able to turn that passion into something later in life. This idea of kids becoming content creators now just scares the hell out of me. Like personally, I think unless and if they have a natural predilection towards it, I think you can guide that into safer environments, which could be theatre. It could be. I used to want to be a radio DJ, and I used to record myself on a little cassette player in my room doing.
This one goes out to my lover.
To literally no one, doing pretend interviews with people. Oh my God, The Rock's just walked in the room. Like, and in hindsight, no one ever heard that, apart from one mate who nicked the tape and played it for everyone. In hindsight, that was my training or start of my training. And it's a passion. And I say to people now that parents come up to me, my kid wants to be a YouTuber. What should they do? And I say, for love of God, do not upload a video to YouTube right now. We're talking about 8-year-olds or whatever. I say, right, what does YouTuber mean? It could mean a vlogger. It could mean a musician. It could mean someone who likes editing. Buy them a camera, teach them the skill. Don't upload anything.
It's now the thing. Like, I think a couple of decades ago, if you asked most children at school what they wanted to be, it went from a rock star. So basically everyone wanted to be Liam Gallagher. It went from that to a footballer. Everyone wants to be David Beckham. Into everybody wants to be Spencer FC.
Well, we had Danny Aaron's on it, didn't we? And also I've seen stuff about Mr. Beast. Like, these guys are guys that started making videos at like 12. And listen, there's huge success stories there. They're both really good versions of that. But there's also, I think, a lot you're missing out on potentially, especially if you don't end up building a career, right? And it's like, I learned, you were surprised the other day when you found out like I can like edit everything, like do it all myself, and that's what most of us YouTubers grew up doing. Like, to the point where, you've got guys work for a hashtag now that are way better than me, but at one point I was training them, and same with Alex. So that's my training, if you like. I learned that stuff through being in a room. This is at uni and at school, sitting on Windows Movie Maker and iMovie and all these things, making videos that no one ever saw. Like that is how you learn. Yeah. It's not about getting that immediate, perhaps quite horrible criticism online at a young age where you can't handle it. People our age can't handle it. How the hell can you handle it at 10, 11? All your peers are seeing it. It might not be 100 million views video, but even if it's just got 100 views,
if it's 12
and
views
they're all in your
the
class,
12 people in your school,
which they will be, because when you start off, I was that guy going on Facebook. Everyone watched my video. The only people seeing it were people that knew me in real life. And if they didn't like them, and some of those videos probably were not that good. I mean, some of the Canada man,
we come up with some crazy stuff.
Some of the stuff I made in the early days is the reason it's private. Let's put it that way. But that is part of the learning process. And if you're doing that in the public realm, that is dangerous, I think.
Completely.
So I think, going back to your thing about sport, that is the one. You get them into sport if they want to do it. It can be cricket, it can be anything. Or maybe it's not sport. Maybe it's competing at other things like chess or something they're interested in. That is how you build resilience and character. Yeah. One of the things I always say about Seb, and there's a few things that we are different on. And one of the things is, and maybe it is linked to your height. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's but there's just an extra level of intensity that Seb has, I would say, above mine. Maybe less so now. When we go back 10 years.
Why would that be his height?
No, well, I think he's...
You wanted to mention the height there. There's absolutely no correlation.
There is.
Did you just want to say that you're taller than him?
I'm talking about the psychoanalysis of things. Everything has a cause and effect. Maybe, tell me if you think I'm wrong.
But I'm short and I'm none of the above.
No, but there's a thing called little man syndrome for a reason, right?
Yeah.
I think Seb, I don't think he loves to beat people. I think he loves to win. And I think winning is something that you thrive to do even more than me. And I'm considered a competitive person by most people. And I've got loads of case studies. It might not be nothing to do with the height. It could be something else. It could be the older brother thing. It could be whatever. There's always a reason for these things.
Were you too competitive when you were young?
Oh, my Lord, yeah. Yeah,
you two in particular more than Saunders?
Definitely. The dynamic was interesting in that Spencer and I took to sport and football more than Saunders did at a younger age. And I think we spent a lot of time competing against each other, like playing football computer games, really.
Like, was it always loving? Or was there ever sympathy? No, it was...
The thing is, I often credit Seb with everything. Like, literally, the reason I got good at FIFA is because he won an Xbox in a poker competition and left it at home, so I got to play FIFA on that. The real reason I got good is he used to smash me on Pro Evo, literally. Yeah. This is the difference, I would say, between me. I've got other mates that I used to play football computer games with, and I'll be better than them. And you beat them a couple of times and they're done. I have never turned down a game in my life. Seb would beat me like 12 games in a row, and he'd be the one that goes, it's 3 a.m, let's go to bed. Like, I'm happy to lose because I know I'm getting better. Yeah. And Seb beat me so much for years. Like, it was probably a bit mental that I wanted to play because he was just constantly... The early days is amazing, by the way. The first thing we ever did... FIFA Road to World Cup 98. How good amazing. This is. On a PC, so he's got the keyboard and I've got the mouse. And I'm trying to move the players. I'm falling off the desk because I'm running out of room.
Celebrate
I'm like, I can't even win if I'm good. But that, I think, was the making of me in that area. And I ended up making a career out of being good at FIFA, really. And it's because Seb used to beat me loads. And this is such a relevant point. I don't want people to skirt over, is that failure is really important in building success. Yeah, and so Seb beat me. Then he goes away to uni, leaves his Xbox. I'm just getting really good at the game. Seb comes back, suddenly I'm beating him. And he's like, this is the difference though. Seb was like, I don't want to play you anymore.
Yeah, because stop playing.
I play to win, right? If I can't win, I ain't playing. Yeah. I pick my fights, right? That's one thing. Like, why I've only stuck to a couple of sports really is like basketball was never really going to be a thing for me, or rugby, right? So I've just never even remotely been interested in trying. Like I don't know what it is about winning or whatnot, but I don't think you want, if it's not a sport or a game that you like inherently, you want to spend time doing. I think you're probably just doing the maths in your head and going, right, for me to get better than this person, I've got to spend a load of time on it. I've got these other sports I'm already good at. I'll leave this. I think, I'd really like the idea at some point in the future of getting into racket sports. Like, I've never really done it.
Paddle? Have you?
I've done paddle. I've played a few games. I've played a few games of tennis, table tennis. I can play them like to a very minimal standard. But I really like the idea of like going and playing a game of tennis after work on these sort of things, like maybe later in life. But yeah, I do think that if I was going to do that, then I'm getting a coach. Yeah, I'm going to play 2 or 3 times a week. And if I'm going to be that, I want to win.
Do you remember there's a period of time when I left London and we moved near to Seb's in Hertfordshire. We used to play squash a little bit. And Seb's, one of his best mates, is one of England's best squash players back in the day. He's retired now. So we were getting into squash. And Seb might have a different version of events, but this is my version of events that I tell people. So we'd play squash fairly regularly.
I tell people.
And I would say... and
talking about this for
no, I do
This
talk
is
about
what
it.
I tell people.
When I talk about Seb, this comes up a lot because it's how I would... I mean it with positive reinforcement, but it demonstrates his personality, I think. So I would say, he might disagree, but I'd say I was slightly ahead of him at squash because I used to play with Alex a lot, and I think technically I was a better squash player. I definitely am now because I don't think you play anymore, really.
It's burning over.
But I'm happy to say that because I will sit here all day and talk about the sports Seb's better than me at, football being one of them. But squash, I was ahead. However, I'm not saying I won more than him. I think I was technically a better player. But when we used to play squash, first of all, with squash, you get a lot of lets. You really... Me and you playing wouldn't be a problem. For me and Seb, we basically realised we can't play without a ref. Because we would have so many rows to the point where we literally would leave.
What, where you'd
we'd say we can't come back from this. We're both too amped up. We need to just leave the game because I think that's my let and you don't. And it was just literally, it's embarrassing.
So
really.
what I would say to that is, I would say I actually will admit that you were definitely a better technical squash player than me. You are better, and probably the same at paddle, right? But I would say I held my own because my natural sporting ability would basically allow me to be semi-competitive once in games. But then, like, if one of us had to play a game of squash to win us both money, I'd put you in instead of me.
But I also think you're right, and I think it's all not just a natural sporting, it's a mental thing as well. So I can remember points against Seb, and this isn't me saying I'm amazing. We'd have points where
I snuck in that more natural sporting ability.
Yeah, he does. No, but literally, again, everything's cause and effect. He does. I literally didn't play sport until I was 13. Seb played sport 10 years more than me.
Absolutely.
That's one of the silly reasons I still consider myself to be getting better at football at 36, because I literally am 10 years behind everyone. So Seb should be naturally better. It'd be weird if he wasn't. Seb is definitely natural better sportsman than me.
But pro rata, you're probably better then. Because
if he drops off and I keep playing, but all accounts on football is that he's not dropped off at the moment. But if he does, I might catch him up.
Have.
But the thing of the squash thing, that I have these memories of these points. You get these rallies every now and then, right? And we'd hold our own. Like Seb would just have one, we'd be sending me around the court and vice versa. There's a couple of times where, if you're in command of a rally in squash, you're sort of holding the middle and you're sending someone, you got them running. And I would look up, and Seb would have just literally ran head first into a wall to the point where he's like got blood coming out of his nose. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, Seb, have the point. I don't care as much as you about this
you're
point.
rapid as well, aren't you?
I was fast growing up. I mean, my speed's gone. Like talking about hammies earlier, like I feel like my hammy's on the point of going every time. Like when we have like father's race at sports day
tomorrow,
like,
mate. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. After the ankle break from last year.
It's big. Like I was so like the first year I did it, my hammy ripped mid race. It full on ping, proper snap, and I hobbled over the line.
Oh my god!
And it was awful.
What are your wives?
The thing is, I still won the race. Like, that was the thing.
I still won the race.
I was so far ahead.
That is a damning of the other lads.
But then, so the next year, I literally this is pathetic, but it's honest, right? So I know if I'm doing it, I have to win. If I don't win that race, I can't let my daughter see me
Not
lose.
who I am anymore.
I am going to win that race, right? So I'm like, if I'm doing it, I'm doing it. But I don't want people to know that I care. So I'm like 10 minutes before I go missing. I was just
stretching.
Mate, I went around the corner, did an intensive warm-up session, come back like I've just been on the phone. Go, is it the race now? Oh, right, okay, fine.
This is what
and then
I'm saying.
I'm like, bang, I'm off. 30 yards behind me, I'm turning around like this. Give me that medal. Like
this is what I'm always telling people about Seb, and he denies it. He denies it in public all the time. I'm glad he's finally accepting it. Like he is very good, and he has got this ability to just do amazing things. But he does care. He pretends he doesn't care, and he does care.
I have got
the FPL thing. You do literally. He gives off this image that he doesn't care about FPL, and maybe there are people that go further than Seb. But Seb is literally. I know this because I've got proof from him.
Yeah, I've got
you read him and ask him about Chelsea.
I'm not hiding now.
Yeah,
I didn't realise.
I've got correspondence. I've got him for Chelsea. I've got Will and E for Newcastle.
Yeah,
I've got this handful of correspondence.
I'm really sorry.
I
I made a massive error. We were talking about you. And I went, I spoke to you. Well, the most recent time I spoke to you, he was asking me about saying, is Nicholas Jackson going to score goals? He went, why? I was like, I think he wanted to put it in his FPL team. He's like, right.
You know how I say, I always say Rory's got a man for every clothing item. You've got a man for every football team to tell you about your FPL stuff. So.
I say to people regularly when we talk about football, and I say, they ask me about, do you go to West Ham much? I'm like, not really. And I say, look, my football priorities are this. There's #United, there's FPL, West Ham are down there. Literally, I will unbegrudgingly captain a player against West Ham and celebrate when they score. Because I really do care about my FPL. And this year's been a painful one for me because I've had a really bad year. And it actually, If I was making a genuinely impartial decision for the betterment of my life, I'd stop playing. The reason being is that when it goes wrong for me, it upsets me. I get really annoyed, and I find myself like angry at things. I'm like, this is a silly game for free.
Yeah.
Like, but it's just I have that
It matters,
nature. But
yeah.
going to kids, I love a part of that about me. And one of the things right now is like our kids go to a really nice school. They're in this really great environment. It's really safe while they're young. The concern I have is that it's so sheltered, and is that the more you give your children, the more privilege or the more security or protection. Like, how are we still building resilience or the ability to take on the world? Which I think is, you want to keep them safe and protect them, but at the same point, the more you do that, the more living in fairy, and I want them to live in fairyland as long as possible. But ultimately, that's the discussion me and my wife have a lot of.
I know the answer.
She wants to do everything for them,
that's
and I'm like, no, Rue can go and do that himself.
Yeah.
He can get that. He's fallen down. Up you get, mate.
Yeah.
Come on, you can do it. And Gina's like, oh no, let him get up.
There's no streetwise
The
quality
answer
to
is
my children.
Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
He's going.
But
Jiu-jitsu.
do you know what? Even that though, even
Good
that
lad.
in itself is incredibly privileged. Even
course
that,
it is.
that's not like what I've noticed. I took Clementine to my nan's. My nan lives literally in the heart of the Kilburn High Road. It's hectic,
it's lovely.
hectic area. Clementine just didn't know what was going on. I was like, there is when I was her age, I would walk down that high road on my own. There is absolutely no side to her that is even close to being streetwise, which is great for many reasons. But it is a concern.
Absolutely.
It is a concern. And like you said there's you know what you just said? That is a fascinating answer, because your answer was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Well, why do you think it's a privilege?
It's a great, I understand what you're saying. It's a great way to learn self-defense and whatever else. But that isn't going to encourage her to adopt any kind of streetwise mentality.
I think you'd be surprised. So martial arts
isn't it?
in general, it's teaching you a lot of things. It's teaching you respect for other people. It's teaching you, like a lot of sports do, it's teaching you to be comfortable in your own skin, like, and know that, especially as a girl, that if something goes south, you might be able to get yourself out of there. But crucially, the reason I said jiu-jitsu is you have got someone physically, with their whole body weight in your face, trying to suffocate. Obviously, when they're kids, it's not as intense as this. Trying to suffocate you, potentially trying to break your limbs. Like, you can't have an ego. Like, so you could walk around in a slightly privileged environment and feel, you know, like I'm X, I'm Y, I'm doing all right, you know, no one can touch me. Don't matter how much money you got, don't matter what your upbringing, what school you go to. When someone's in your face, you've got to step up.
Yeah.
And it hasn't got to be this aggressive macho sport either. There's a lot of girls do it as well. But I look at martial arts differently. I like the discipline and the respect element and the kind of like lifestyle element of it. I'm not there to beat people up, but I also think I walk around with I'm not even like very far into my journey at all, but I do walk around with a level of confidence physically that I probably didn't have growing up.
If your kicks up,
I know I would have got involved if something kicked off before, but I wouldn't know what I was doing. Now I have some ideas.
Do you try and equalise it at all? Like, you know what you've just described there? Do you do anything to try and introduce your daughter to just like the...
So the only thing would be is like, if I see them fall down, like I try and stop myself from immediately getting them up. Like last night, I messed around in the garden, Nelly falls over, she cries. I'm like, up you get, you're fine.
Yeah.
She said, no, I'm really up you get, you're fine. No, stop it,
Yeah.
you're fine. And like, there's a part of me that's like, go and pick her up and make sure she's all right. But I do literally catch myself and think, you have to be cruel to be kind. And I do think that I have to fight my own reaction. I want to just pick her up and cuddle her and protect her forever. But I actually think I'm being selfish doing that. And that's one thing we clash on, me and my wife Gina, is that she is an incredibly doting mother and I want to be that. But then I think sometimes I worry that the more you're their best mate, like, is that actually, what is the role of the parent?
This is why you have roles though, the father and the mother. I know everyone does it differently. Don't come for me in the comments, but generally you have a different energy, a different role. And I think you're doing it completely right, because you can always backtrack. If it goes from, oh, they're not really hurt, to, oh, actually, no, I think they've broken their leg, you then become the doting father and you go, right, actually, that tactic's not going to work today. But 9 times out of 10, they are fine.
Yeah,
and
I know they are.
You've got to teach them that. You're doing the right thing. But it doesn't mean Gina's wrong for not doing it.
No, absolutely.
Because the mum has to have a different energy.
Yeah.
I think.
No, it's true. And I think that is one thing what I wrestle with a lot with is like, am I, I would like to parent for me in a certain way, which is be their best mate forever, make them love me forever, make them always want to hang out with me. But then I think that is selfish to a certain extent.
It's one of my big concerns,
Really?
Yeah, Clementine, with like touch wood, right? We've had a bit of luck. She lives in a bubble, man.
Yeah,
She hasn't got a
absolutely.
clue. She like, and that's wonderful now, but she hasn't got a clue. And I don't know.
Well, this is one of the things I fantasize about. It's a bit weird, and they need to get older. But I really love the idea, obviously not only doing this, but taking my boys to some of these places to broaden their mind. I'm talking like underprivileged places.
Yep.
You know, like I used to live with a Kiwi couple, and one of the guys just got back from India, and I still haven't gone. And he said, "You need to go to India." He's like, "You're not going to have fun. You need to go to see certain things." And there's obviously other parts of
I'd like
India
to
that are
see it as
lovely.
well.
But like everywhere I talk to people about India, most people, and I'm not trying to insult anyone here, but a lot of people are just like, I don't want to go there. Like I know what I'm going to see, particularly in the cities, the crowded cities, whatever. I know some of it's improving, and there's lovely parts of India too. But my pal was basically saying like, no, it's going to change your brain. You're going to see things that you can't unsee, and that's a gift we can give our kids without exposing them to necessarily real risk long term. And then like just explore, travel broadens the mind. Like, yes, we want to do the Disneyland trips and go to Centre Parks, do this thing, but also let's throw some meaningful things at certain points in their life. You know, like I think boys particularly as well, there's a coming of age moment at like 13, 14. You've seen in America and some countries, they send them to these like military camps to try and turn them into men. Like, I'm not interested in that, but I like the idea of saying at some point in your life, we're going to go and do something that is a really challenging task, and you're going to grow into a man as a result.
And the thing is, that's the thing is what can we do to make that not a standing start, not make that initial exposure to that be so devastatingly painful? Because if they go from loving, mollycoddling everything to then, right, off you go, run through the mud or sleep outside or whatever, like they're just going to break down. Like if Rue sometimes gets towards the end of his football session, he doesn't want to do it. And the early parts of me, I'm like, no, come on, you're going to do it, take part. And now I'm like, right, so is that the right thing to do? Is the right thing to do? Like, I think the overall message, like I would like to have, because I've got no clue what I'm doing, right, is to like becoming a father and a parent is such a big thing. But and like you think that everyone else has got it figured out. But like speaking for myself personally, I ain't got, like, I'm making up as I go.
We all do.
Well, that's the biggest thing. Is like
we know exactly. That's why we've got the podcast.
Exactly.
Like,
We started like the self-doubt, right?
Yeah.
Like you think, like what, you know, am I being wrong for putting myself first by not being present, by doing this? Like we're all making the same mistake.
And there is no right way.
No.
This is what really important part of it, I think, is that there might be some people that ostensibly have the perfect life. There might be some people that actually you meet and you think, wow, you've got it all figured out. You seem so happy. And they actually might. Like there are people that are sort of like that. But generally speaking, everything, there's a cause and effect. There's a grass is always greener. You could be the doting father and everything you feel like maybe you miss out on through other things. And you'd be thinking about you should be working harder. You'd be thinking we should do that. And you could be the best worker and you could be earning silly money and giving this great lifestyle. And you could be in your deathbed and think you weren't present. Yeah. As long as it's moderation, everything's moderation. You find the balancing act. But like I think, you know, we should definitely get Seb back on because neither of us three have a trouble talking and keeping the chat going. And it's only tip of the iceberg of some of the stuff we could talk about. I want to go back to one thing though that you mentioned earlier, and you have to forgive me if I get this story wrong. Maybe you can correct it, but you reminded me of a story you told me, which is you talked earlier about how you felt like the younger you thought you had it all figured out and actually knew nothing, or not as much. We all can relate to that. And I remember a story you told me. I think it's really relevant to something we've spoken about loads over the years, and I touched on it earlier about the importance of failure. I always remember when Seb was pre-YouTube days and he was quite successful in his sales career, and he was very young, like upstart, if you like, come in and was smashing it and making all this money and probably maybe ruffled a few feathers in doing so, people that weren't doing it as well. And he got some offer to get a promotion, some sort of managerial role or whatever it was. So you can correct me on this stuff, but this is how I remember it. You basically go for an interview, they've invited him in. It was very unusual for someone of his age to be in that position. I remember Seb came back, and I don't know what exactly it was you didn't get that role, but I remember you said to me, and we were both baffled, because Seb goes to me, the guy said to me, everything looks great, your CV looks amazing, you know, like there's nothing I can see wrong here, tell me what you failed at. And Seb was like, well, I don't fail. And he was like, yeah, that's the problem, I don't think you failed enough. And Seb comes back, tells me, like, what was he talking about, haven't failed? That shouldn't be a bad thing. And I agreed with him. I was like, yeah, what's he talking about? Now I look back and think that guy had a little bit of an idea, that guy interviewing you, because there is, as a young person, there is a value. I'm not saying you wouldn't have been good at that job.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is now, how many times have we talked about things that could easily be looked at as failures in our YouTube careers or our various things where we have pivoted and we have gone, well, that didn't work. Now we're going to do this. And that thing's ended up being great. And we learn things from those things. So like, how interesting to look at that. What's that? Probably 15 years ago that was now. Maybe longer than that.
Yeah, much longer.
That happened and how we have changed as a result.
Yeah, like overarchingly, we all do. I am scarred by a few things that I have said or done in the past, to a point where like I just cringe so much, like about how, probably, to be honest, like arrogant I was at certain parts of my life, where you do just think you know it all and you don't, and you look back and you just think, what a dickhead, man, like why did you say that, or how could you have thought that? And like ultimately, like that arrogance is a little bit of a like a bulletproof vest, and it allows you to go and do things. But you know, I've always found, like, I try and be a little bit more balanced nowadays, but even in fairly recent times, I like to try and think that I'm relatively self-aware, in that I think that I have a certain personality which can maybe rub some people up the wrong way. Like, I talk over people a lot. Like, I'm really keen, I'm really passionate, excited. I can be a bit of a lot. I can be a bit intense sometimes. And I know there's some people whose personality will clash with that and they won't like that. And I've sort of got to the point in my life where I'm just fine with that. And it's like, I'll do something sometimes. I'll be with a group of people and I'll reflect. I'll be like, when I said that, I bet a few people in the group thought, what a dickhead. Like, we all think that of other people, we judge them. We may never say it out loud, but you have that thought. And I think, I reckon that was one of their moments. And I'll try and take a reflection from it. And I won't necessarily think I'm going to change because of that. Because I've come to terms with like certain parts of my personality that are maybe like that, have allowed me to do things in my life that otherwise I wouldn't have. And the juice is worth the squeeze to a certain extent. And I think there's so many things growing up that, you know, we all have to look back and say people don't have regrets, but I don't want to say it's regrets, but it's more like just learnings.
Yeah,
right? Things I've done that I haven't done. And then as you try and get older, my biggest acknowledgement is just to understand what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. Like, you and I have deep, meaningful chats about some big issues in the world. And I would love, and I genuinely think I try and be the best person I can be and help people less fortunate than I am and want the best things for humankind. But ultimately, I'm a realist and realise that I could dedicate my entire life to like trying to do better for other people, and ultimately it make no real difference, which is a bit of a negative thing to say. So I try and live my life doing the right things by me, helping those people around me, and trying to navigate this like nutty world, looking after my own to a certain extent. And I want to do well by other people, but ultimately try and make decisions that impact that closer circle around you, your friends, your family, the close people to you, and just trying to block out a lot of the noise and negativity. And like being a parent, I think, makes you want to think you want the world to be a better place. But ultimately, the way I think about it is, no, I want my child to navigate the world we're in best. Like, I want tomorrow to be better for my kids, but realistically, I just need to give my kids the tools.
Well, it's also what you can control, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you can't have a meaningful impact on the direction that the world's moving, but you can have a meaningful impact.
But then if everyone has that mindset, then no one knows a change.
The truth of it,
there are people who do have the position to have a meaningful direction.
Yeah.
You don't get those positions by accident. You don't get those positions by accident. But I think it's a very good point, because I think that there's obviously loads of factors here. But actually, I remember thinking this a lot when we were considering whether we were going to have kids, and at that first point when I wasn't sure in my current headspace, I remember thinking like it's almost selfish to have kids, because you do have to, for all the right reasons, become tunnel visioned once you have kids, and you are only going to look for good reason within your own house, and like, because it's so much to do to make that place healthy and kind and good, that of course you're going to have blinkers on and not be able to help people around you. The reality of it probably is, and I'm not saying there isn't exceptions to this, but how many of those people that are incredibly able to dedicate their lives to service and helping the world, parents? Like, and there's a whole Buddhist mentality to it, is that the Buddhists look at it as like, if you actually get into all that stuff and you really you feel connected to the whole world, you probably are a slightly worse parent as a result, because you basically feel connected to everyone, which increases your love and affection for everything. But then the lack of ego means that you look at your kids a little bit less.
In the movies
special.
where like the prime minister or the president is like, right, listen, I've got your kids, mate. I need you to drop a bomb on the country, or else I'm going to kill your kid. And he's like, bomb, like, you know, a million lives, or my daughter, well, bomb. You know, it's ultimately that is the parent mindset, and nothing will ever want to make you like do. Like, I can understand how parents who have had like, I mean, this gets so deep and dark, but like, you ever watch a show now where like a parent loses a child, and you just think, oh my fucking God, like,
it's the worst thing ever.
God, like, I just can't imagine the pain that you can feel and how people could be driven to like revenge or whatnot. Like, 'cause I think if someone hurts your child, I sort of just think all bets are off.
Yeah.
Like, what is fair game?
Oh, mate.
Anyway, that's a lovely.
Well, no, it's true, and that is the like animalistic side of parenthood. Like, you know, we all know that we could go to a pretty dark place if we needed to defend our kids. Like, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. I think everyone would agree with that. Like, if that is, we are animals ultimately, and you can see.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I said this to Victoria last night. you know when I look particularly at my newborn, not so Clementine so much, but at my baby, do you know what? I feel this weird like protection. It's like a weird emotion that naturally I think it comes over fellas. It's almost like I almost want someone to do something because I want to
prove it.
Yeah.
There's millions of years of
Evolution,
evolution
yeah.
taking place in you in that split second. But yeah, I think there's great clips you can see of like animals in nature doing this stuff, and like, it's an amazing clip, right? This clip I saw the other day. There's these load of baboons on this road. It's like a safari. So someone from the car is filming it. Yeah. Did we talk about this on the pod before?
No.
So there's all these baboons, and then these cheetahs come out of nowhere, and obviously cheetahs are coming to get the baboons.
Don't fuck with the cheetah.
But there's probably like 50 baboons, right? And there's
We'll fuck
like
with the
five or six cheetahs, right? The cheetahs are coming in, and all these baboons that are nearest the cheetahs are like kids and women. So they're all running. And every baboon naturally sees the cheetah and all starts running that way, including these big old geezer baboons at the back who are clearly like the alpha baboons, right? They're all running away. And then they stop. The alphas stop, because it was obviously a natural impulse to run, and they turn and they start running. One baboon starts running towards the multiple cheetahs and just starts going, like this, like get away from my women and children. He's got no chance of winning the fight, right? It's the most incredible thing. He runs towards the cheetah like this, head on. It's like that I Am Legend Will Smith bit at the end of the film. And he's basically buying time. So all these women and children run out of the way. The baboon gets this close to the cheetah, turns back to start running away because he knows his boys will come to fight him. And there's 6, 7 other boys come in and they all just go, get out. And the cheetahs fuck off and run away. And they carry on chasing the cheetahs. They say, no, you've come in our territory. But it's literally like the roles of society. The traditional roles of society in a video. And that's we have to do
there's a line in a Morrissey song where he goes, if they dare touch a hair on your head, I'll fight to my last breath. Whenever I pick her up, I always sing that. It's just the first song that comes into my head.
I think what's interesting about that is, where do we stand? And there's no right answer to this. When I think about that with my kids, I think about it as protecting the vulnerable. Like, it's my responsibility because they can't defend themselves. So what my point is then, where do we stand when our kids are old enough to defend themselves? When our kids are maybe even defending us, like if we're older and whatnot, and I don't know the answer to this, should our attentions then actually move towards defending the other vulnerable and letting our kids prosper and not having, not staying in that mindset for our whole lives and just being protect our own, protect our own? Should it be our job is to protect this life that we've created? Now they can protect themselves. Actually, we should have brought them up to now protect others. That's the circle of life. And now we have to look around us and see who else we can protect. And that can naturally happen. That's where I think about the adoption
thing. We've got to worry about protecting ourselves. If we're a circle of life, right? You just need to train your kids up so that when you need it, they can look after you.
If we're lucky enough to be in a position of,
yeah, of course.
I think some people, my point is you get in, you deliberately and necessarily in that defend and protect and raise mentality. And then what often happens is the watershed moment passes. You get past the point of A, your kids needing you, B, you having if you're lucky enough to have financial security, but you're so programmed to be in that brain, you continue to think about, how do I continue to make money? How do I actually, you're quite steady and safe, and there's other things you could do to help people that need help. That's where
the thing is, well,
the adoption
at that point you get then
me.
grandkids, don't you? Potentially.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's hard. Just speaking personally, I think that's a really idealistic sort of ideology. I think realistically, my natural is to always would default if I'm doing something else to help someone else, and then also my kid needs me.
If they need you, of course, 100%.
Then the thing is, I just think I look forward now and I see things like I so pathetic. I'll say to Rue, he's 5. I'd be like, we're always your best mates, aren't we? I'm like secretly, I'm trying to subconsciously say to him, remember, you got to be your mate, because I know you do now, but promise. And he's like, I'm like, we'll see.
That's binding. You just said yes. That's binding forever.
There's some awful stat, like when you get into the dad algorithm on Instagram and TikTok, you served all these like quotes and inspirational things. There's some disgusting stat of something like, once your kids are 12, you've spent 90% of the time ever going to spend with them. So post 12, you've got 10% of the time you're ever going to spend with them.
And that goes both ways as well.
How awful that is, because you're basically living in the same house, doing everything together on the weekends. They get to 12, you might drop them somewhere, but they're just doing other stuff. Like the time you spend with them is so small.
But it goes up as well to the food chain. You talk about the generation above us as well, and like how many times will we actually spend quality? I know you see your mum a lot and stuff, but like how many times the generic family actually spend quality time? Because even if you do like a Christmas get together, how many moments are you actually talking to your mum or your dad or any one person meaningfully once you get to our age? It's only, if we're lucky, there's 10, 20 times maybe, like proper quality time.
the rest of your life. Yeah.
Yeah.
One big thing I heard again recently, which really resonated with me, but it is sadly a fact I don't think we'll be able to overcome, is that we are in that period now where it's spoken of, where you're in the prime of your powers, where you've gone through early parts of your career, you become more experienced, more valuable, and you get more opportunity because of those things. It's your like hustle period to really make it and set up something for the future. Like between like 35 and 45, it's like that 10-year window you've got to grind, but it's also the window when the golden age of parenthood, where your kids were that best thing. So the dream would be that somehow you could figure out how to grind, do something, become a parent, chill for 10 years, enjoy parenthood, because you can't do it again. You already physically can't have kids when you get past a certain age, and then go back to grinding.
Then you've got to have the energy
50.
to grind at 50.
We don't. We don't instead, right? We don't. So it's like, that is one big thing that I would love to say to other people and to say to myself, is to realize that we are in the time of our lives where we're living in the best parts of our career.
I do feel like,
but also genuinely, like, this is the time of our lives. Whether we have more money or less money in the future, not because of the age of our children, the golden era is now. And I want to just say to myself, like, just properly enjoy it, because it will be gone.
This is where the homeschool. This is
exactly, and that even more so, health.
This is where the Alex and I homeschool thing and all the different things we've talked about doing over the years has come in, because we're completely aware of that, and we're completely the health thing. It's not just our health; it's health of other family members and things that you need to be around for certain things, or maybe you need to be around even more in 5 years, say, so to help people. So can you do stuff now while you have the chance? I feel like I'm entering that now, because I was just talking to Alex about it this morning. So our oldest is 4.5 almost. Realistically, he probably won't remember nearly anything of his life so far. Which is pretty mad, right?
Think about that.
So my thinking is, right, so it's basically, my memories sort of kick in around 4-ish, 5-ish. So I'm like, right, so now it's almost like that was the draft. Now we actually create memories with him. So these next 10 years, I would say, are the 10 years where I agree with you completely. I don't think enough people, including ourselves, have that perspective to be able to stop, because you go and that time is gone and suddenly you're 50. And it's not, the other thing we didn't mention then, well, you sort of mentioned it in health, is like your mobility. Like, so you like, okay, golf is a sport you can play in later age, but like I'm sitting here pulling my hamstrings.
That's why paddle's so important to me.
Got to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's true, man.
Can do it.
Yeah.
Right, it's been amazing, Seb. Thank you very much. I definitely would love you to come back on.
Absolutely.
Can we finish with one thing?
Okay.
I want you to look down the camera. We did this with Joe, and I'd like to review. Look down that number 4 camera there. I want you to send a message to Seb in 10 years.
Wow.
You just said some very interesting stuff on that sort of idea. What do you want to say to Seb in 10 years? What do you want him to be as a father? What do you want him to feel about the world? And what do you want him to spend the last 10 years doing? You can take some time to think.
Yeah, might have to, I thought you were going to say to my kids in 10 years' time.
Do that too.
Like, the one thing I did once that I'm so glad I did it, and I show this to Nelly, and like you said, she's not really old enough to understand it yet, but I think in the future she'll see this video. So I'm walking through the car park of the hospital where we're about to give birth, and Gina's about to give birth. It's a long labour, like 30 plus hours, but it was finally happening. Gina was unbelievable. Like, talk about moments you realise, like, Gina's not a sporty, competitive person. She turned into this psychopath, like, in a great way. How she did what she did is just, I'll never be in awe of her forever for it, as people say. I'm walking through the car park, and I know that I've gone to get something because it's game time. The baby's coming. I'm not a dad. I'm about to be a dad. And for whatever reason, I pulled out my phone, spoke to my phone, as content creators do. It was a video to Nelly. And in the video, I say, Nelly, this is your dad talking to you before I'm a dad. How funny, like, you go 20 years not crying and then you start talking about your kids.
What happens?
It's incredible, man. I remember just saying, like, I'm about to be a dad. I'm about to meet you for the first time. Like, oh, you'll never understand how much I love you already. I've never even seen your face, right? I've got this video and I show it to her and she's like giggling. I think one day she'll see that and just feel like how what I think of is, I think about, like, being true and I think it made me think of another thing here. We talked about regret earlier. I'll talk about one thing I did to mum when we were younger, and I spoke to her in a certain way at a certain moment. I won't embarrass her and say what happened, but I was a fucking dickhead at what I did. And I regret it so much. And I'd love to say to me, if we're going to parenthood, if I'm talking to me personally, I would say, just listen to your own advice. Listen to your own. I really hope you've listened to your own advice. You sit here now in a position where you think you've figured a few things out, lots more to go, and, like, you're telling other people this advice. You're not really listening to it yourself. Like, the things you say about protecting that was important, looking after your own mind and your own body, And like, you know what's right and wrong. Just do it. Stop talking about it and actually do it. And then look back and have done it. Because otherwise, you have that regret. And I know the things I'm talking about to myself, like with my mobile phone. Like just last week, we went to that cricket.
Yeah.
We met another mum. And I said, how's things? Yeah, great. You know what? I've just deleted Instagram. And I was like, what? She's like, I just deleted it. And Gina went, oh my God, that's amazing. And Gina went, I'm doing it. And I was like, what? Gina, my wife, pulls her phone out and deletes Instagram on the spot. I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm so jealous. Like, I sort of wish I could do that. I sort of want to do that, but I can't, right? So do you know what I did? Is my middle ground, my soft movement towards it.
Deleted Bieber.
I've moved Instagram to like the furthest swipe
so
across,
to,
right?
I've done that.
It takes harder to get, right?
Yeah.
And I know that if I can spend less time on my phone or be more intentional about when I go to it and enjoy those moments, I just hope you've done it. I hope you've done it. And maybe this could be a moment where you make that commitment to yourself to put your phone down and enjoy you've sat here spouting all this stuff about how you've got to enjoy the next 10 years. Why are you actually going to do it? Hope you do, mate.
And we'll watch it back when the pod is called Internet Granddads.
Yeah.
Hopefully not in 10 years. That would be insane. But no, that's really nice. And I think, like the everything you touched on is stuff we all feel. It's not unique. I think a lot of people watching this will relate to it. And we all want the same thing. I mean, the Instagram thing alone, like we all three of us will use the same excuse, which is that we need it for work, which is true.
It is true.
I did delete it for a bit, and then what I did is I just got a work phone, which I've never had before. I had a second phone, and I had Instagram on that. So if I had to do a post, I'd get it on that. Do you remember a few years ago, I had the moment, it was 4 years ago, Alex were in Portugal for that month. I messaged you and I basically said, Seb, will you take over my social media?
Oh, yeah.
Which in hindsight was a terrible thing to ask my brother to do, who, if I'd been thinking about it, he probably wants to get off socials as well. And it's not his job. That was me asking someone I inherently trust to do it rather than asking probably the right person.
Mental how we all feel exactly the same way about this. And I imagine that people listening to this, people watching this will all completely empathise. Everybody wants to be on their phone less.
Where will we all be in 10 years?
And yet we're all on our phones more.
What is that? That's got something there is going to happen, I think. I don't know what, but something's going to happen.
I feel like we're a long way from it, but I agree with you. I remember you said to me once, and one of your many talents is your ability to sort of sit above and see certain like trends and patterns and things. And you said to me once, and I've sort of taken it and thought about it a bit more as well, is like there's going to be there's been like the digital revolution, the industrial revolution. There's going to be an emotional revolution where people realize, like, I wonder whether one time, I'd love it to be the case, man, is like it becomes uncool to have like followers or like stuff. Like right now it's the currency, right? Is it like almost, could it become cringe?
I think we're not far off.
You're not emotionally involved.
Do you know what I think in a positive way? Do you know what I think people have moved away from? Celebrity. Like, 10, 15 years ago, the idea of like Amanda Holden was like quite interesting. I don't think we're there anymore, which is good.
Sorry, Amanda.
No disrespect to Amanda Holden. But the idea, like, you know those shows, those chat shows, they don't really resonate the way.
I think social's been a part of that, right?
Yeah,
it's like the what's the word I'm looking for? Not the democratization, like what's the
meritocracy?
No, like the taking away of that construct that like there's these people and then there's us. Creators become that line gets
people realise they're not, like you said earlier, they're not superhumans. They're just people that did something. And I don't think it's. I think you'd be surprised about how switched on some kids are. I'm not talking about our kids. I'm talking about teenagers. Kids that are the sort of age we were when social media came about, so like late teenage years, adolescent. Like some of them are really clever on like not accepting all these terms of agreement, giving their privacy away. And it is actually, I think, there's a movement. Like they're talking about the lack of alcohol being drunk right now, but it's a massive movement towards teetotalness. I think there's going to be a big movement towards people thinking it's not cool to be on your phone so much.
But do you know, funny, I saw a tweet that went, when it goes mad viral, 14,000 retweets or whatever, and it said it was from America, but it said, if you're not famous and you've got more than 1,000 followers, you're a weirdo. So maybe
if you're not famous.
If you're not famous. So if you're not famous and you've got more than 1,000 followers, you're a weirdo.
It'd be almost like if you're not famous and your account isn't private. That's one I think. I know you've got a private one. I fantasize about the idea. Like I don't hate Instagram. I hate the way I use it, and I hate. I would like to have a private one where like I have the close friends thing, right? So obviously you guys are on it. If I do anything sort of family based, it's usually a close friends thing, and that is literally like I think it's like 100 people, and like there's people on there that probably aren't close friends.
I've got 100 people.
Yeah,
I never use that.
That shows you what we actually need, like numbers wise, what our actual community should be. Yeah. But we could, let's save the rest for another episode. We're definitely, it's a great, hopefully I think people have really enjoyed it.
Mate. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, Sebby.